Hello, welcome to another video of my course about microservice entitled Implement a Circuit Breaker Pattern using Netflix Hystrix. In this video, we will learn how to use Hystrix to solve the problems that come with a distributed microservice architecture, like in the project that we have. And these problems are fault and latency tolerance. Looking at our business API service, it is fetching data from both catalog and inventory service. But what if those services failed, or the response is delayed? It will affect the overall integrity of the application, or even worse, it might bring the whole system down. And that is where Hystrix comes in. It wraps the call to remote services and handles the exception, or return a default or computed value. Setting up Hystrix. Number 1. Add a dependency to Spring Cloud Starter Netflix Hystrix. Number 2. Annotate the Spring Boot class with @enable Hystrix. Number 3. Set the timeout in application.properties. This step is not required. Number 4. There are two ways to use Hystrix with Spring. Number 1, via annotating pain client with fallback property, and number 2, by using the fallback property. Before we continue, let's review our project architecture. Remember, we have the TerraWarehouse Gateway project here, but we are now renaming it with TerraWarehouse Business API to avoid the confusion with the TerraWarehouse Load Balancer, which is actually our API gateway. And then we have our microservice here, the catalog and the inventory project, fetching their configuration from the TerraWarehouse config server, which fetch the configuration from a local Git repository. And then the catalog and the inventory microservice register with the TerraWarehouse service discovery running with Eureka. And finally, we have the TerraWarehouse load balancer running with Suul. This service is the one where our clients actually connect. This one is the only service that is accessible by the outside world using the fallback property. This is our catalog service proxy pane client. All we need to do is add a fallback property to the open pane client and specify the fallback class, which is the catalog service fallback. This class is annotated with @service so that Spring will pick it up, and it implements the catalog service proxy, which is this interface, and we have these methods that actually calls the services from the proxied microservice, which is in this case the catalog. For this demo, we will override the find all categories method. Here we can see that we are returning an empty list and we are logging the error if it is not null. And then to use the fallback factory, again, all we need to do is specify that property in the pane client annotation and specify the catalog service fallback factory class. Inside this class, which is also annotated with @service, we implement the fallback factory and override the create method and return an instance of the catalog service fallback class, which calls as the parameter, so that when an error occurred, we should be able to log the exception. And that is the difference between the fallback and the fallback factory properties. With the fallback, we don't have access to the actual error. But with fallback property, we can do something with the error, for example, log something in the database. So in some cases, it is more useful, but in case we just want to return a default value in case a microservice is down, we can use the fallback property. Now let's run the application. But before we do that, let's set these properties in service discovery project. Set the Eureka server.enabled self-preservation property to false, and in TerraWarehouse catalog and inventory projects, set the renewal interval in seconds and the lease expiration duration in seconds to 1, so that when we terminate the microservice, it will immediately reflect in Eureka. before I begin this video, I've already started the config server, load balancer, and service discovery in Node 1, which is actually running on another computer. This computer where I'm doing the demonstration is Node 2. This is where I am running the catalog, inventory, and the business API projects. Now for our first use case, we are using the fallback property, and let's try calling the API. So this call should forward or proxy the request to the category controller. And we got the result. Now what if we terminate the catalog microservice? It should take some time before the terminated microservice reflects on Eureka. Before executing the postman test, wait for the catalog service to deregister itself with Eureka. Now let's try calling the request again. And here we got an empty list which actually generated from our fallback class, which is this one. But in this case, it doesn't log any error because the cause is currently null. Now for our second use case, let's change the fallback property into fallback factory property and specify the catalog service fallback factory class. Again, this change should take some time, so let's wait it out. Again, before we resume our test, let's wait for the catalog service to register itself with Eureka. Now that it is registered, we can now run our test. And here we got a response. And that's it for our two use case. One other use case that I can show you is the timeout. Here we have a read timeout set to 5 seconds. Now what if the catalog service takes some time to reply? Like for example, let's add a thread.sleep to 6 seconds and catch the interrupted exception. Now, in this case, we should be able to catch a Hystrix timeout or read timeout exception because the request will take 6 seconds and the read timeout setting of the paying client is 5 seconds. Again, let's restart our application and it will take some time to register with Eureka. And again, before we continue testing, we should check Eureka if all our microservices are registered. Here we have the catalog, inventory, and the business API. Remember, we have added a thread.sleep code in the find all API in the category controller inside the catalog microservice, so that when we execute this test, it will throw a suul exception, Hystrix read timeout, because in our business API application.properties, we have set the read timeout to 5 seconds. And I think that's all for this video. I hope you learned something that could be of use on your professional career. Please support my channel by subscribing and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload the next video. I think next we can discuss about the Hystrix dashboard. Have a nice day and see you again in the next video. Bye!